Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rise, Shine, and Live Aligned this early Tuesday morning. I am Haley Garcia, your host. I'm a real estate broker of 23 years and a master certified life coach and executive business coach for over 10 years now. Today, I am super excited to welcome Dr. Sakina Davis, my dear friend and local physician here in the Woodlands, Texas, with Woodlands Wellness.
Good morning, Haley. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Very
Good
honored
morning.
to join.
I'm so grateful you're here, Dr. Davis. Thank you so much. And I'm excited for our conversation today. Before we get started, would you just take a minute and share with us a little bit about your background and Woodlands Wellness? And then we've got some great questions to jump into.
Absolutely. So I started Woodlands Wellness in 2004, and it just came to me when I started traditional medicine that there needed to be a different approach. I saw a lot of women, especially, who had a lot of similar complaints, and I didn't have many tools to address those complaints. So fortunately, I was introduced to the world of bioidentical hormones and nutrition early into my career and found that that was such a better answer. And trying to get people to feel good, feel healthy, and stay healthy was really now my passion. So that is what drove me to start Woodlands Wellness back in 2004.
Well, I know as one of your patients, I'm so grateful that you did. I know many of us in the community love your work and your expertise. So we're so happy to have you here. And you might know from the show that I really like to kick it off with something that is a positive, something to be grateful for, something good. So do you have something to share with us this morning that is something good on top of your little puppies in the background that we hear?
Sorry about that. I was a little worried about that.
That's okay.
So, we have so much to be grateful for. So first of all, I think I'm most grateful that we're still here today. This pandemic was very scary for our health, for our businesses. And so I have to say that just recently experiencing COVID myself, I'm very, very happy to be here today and be able to talk to you. So I think that's what I'm most grateful for right now.
100%. I could not agree with you more. I know you and your husband and your family spent a lot of times on the front lines during COVID and in the worst of it, right? And it is something to be grateful for that we're now on the backside. It's obviously not gone, but we are definitely better than we were, right? So a lot to be grateful
for. Learning how to live with it, learning about our therapeutics and treatments and such. So yes, it is definitely a much better place than we were in March 2020 for sure.
Yes. I remember those initial conversations. We don't want to go back there.
I know.
So I would love to kick off our conversation today because you are so amazing in your expertise of medicine. And I personally feel that there's a lot of misconceptions in the world. As an MD, I know that you specialize in functional integrated medicine and you really personalize the medicine to each individual. Will you share a little bit with us on your philosophy from an MD perspective of how that integration takes place?
Yes. So, when I look back again in my career, and I know that even early in my career, when my patients came to me and they said, Dr. Davis, I'm seeing a chiropractor, or I'm getting acupuncture, or I'm, learning about different ways to heal myself with nutrition. I was very open to it long before I even learned about this myself. And so I feel like having that open mind really has been my philosophy since day one. I have found that that's not true of all traditionally trained physicians. And that's unfortunate because in medical school, we're not really taught to look at other options of how to heal somebody. So my philosophy is that we need to use a combination of treatments. Allopathic medicine, which is what traditional medicine is not 100% for everyone. There are so many other approaches. And so by using different types of techniques and tests and trying to get to the root of what's going on, we're able to help our patients feel better. And I think quality of life is so important to me. And so when patients come to me after they've seen 5 or 6 other physicians and they say, I've been saying the same thing for the last, 5 years and no one's listening to me, and I really just can't get up and get going during my day, it just sets me aback that, you think you order a test and you say, hey, everything's normal. Well, it can't be normal if you can't get out of bed. So, It's so important to me that we listen to our patients, that we really take the time to figure out, what happened, what could have triggered this. It's been so important to me, like when I talk to some of my patients and they say, well, let's go back to 2010. What happened in 2010? Was there a lot of stress that year? And they say, well, yes, my mom passed away and I was a caretaker, and I got divorced, or I lost my job. I mean, there's a lot of things that can trigger these things. And so it's important that we listen to the history, because it pretty much tells us what's going on. And
It
then,
does.
yeah. And so it's important that we look, further into things and not just order a basic test and say, okay, everything's normal. So, I really feel like with my MD background, I obviously have a medical perspective, to be able to look at something and say, okay, this is what we need to do on a medical perspective. And even using integrative and functional personalized medicine, that's even better for our patients, because we're able to use the tools we have today that we didn't have back in 1999, to be able to really help them feel better.
Absolutely. And I know I can speak from experience that you actually go so many layers deeper to understand the root cause, and you work to heal the root cause instead of just, we'll take this pill for your symptom, because
Exactly.
the cause and the symptom are two very different things sometimes.
Very different. And so taking one pill to fix this thing, and then having to take a second pill to fix the side effect of the first one, and then a third one to fix the side effect of those two, that just is not the answer. So we have to fix what the problem is. And that's what we really try to do in our practice.
Yes.
Mhm.
Talk to us for a minute about, I know the long list of the additional tests that you guys offer that really do get to the root of things. Share with us a little bit about those tests and the ones that you really find insightful.
Absolutely. So, what we've really learned is the old adage, what you eat is really so important. And so for me, what I found is that our microbiome is telling us so much. So for many of our patients, we really try to address what's going on in their microbiome. So we have a specific stool test that we do that can tell us about the balance of good or bad bacteria, if there's parasites, if there's some sort of disruption in digestion, inflammation, something called dysbiosis. And so we know that we often need to start there, because if we have gut related issues, we're never going to get much improvement in other types of symptoms. So that's been specifically very helpful. Food allergy and food sensitivity testing, nutrient testing, hormones, more advanced thyroid testing, adrenal testing. So there's just so much in my toolbox now, especially since 2004. And that's the great thing about, this type of medicine, is we're always learning. There's always something that's being, helpful to our patients. And so I feel like I never know all the answers, and that's a great thing. I want to continue my education. I want to continue to learn, and I want to continue to find all the best tests that can help my patients feel the best that they can feel. So I think by, really tailoring our program to what specifically symptoms you have, we're able to really find those answers. So that's just even a small sample of what we do, but there's so much in our toolbox to be able to really get down to what, again, the root cause of what's going on.
It's so amazing too, and I know I can speak from personal experience. The food allergy and sensitivity test is something we did years ago for
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm.
and I learned so many things, that some of my favorite foods were actually causing inflammation,
Right,
and they were my favorite foods. And
right,
so I would have never known, well, this food, when you eat blueberries, is actually causing you to feel terrible because it's creating inflammation, had I not done the test.
right.
Um, so they're really insightful. And is it true that over the years, these sensitivities can also change? So this isn't something that once you get it done, well, that's your answer for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. So allergies are different. True food allergies means we have an absolute reaction, like a peanut allergy. Obviously, if somebody has a peanut allergy, that's a very distinctly different type of reaction. The food sensitivities can definitely change based on how our diet changes and how we eat. And really, what I tell a lot of people is that food is not bad. It's what we've done to food that's the problem. So how we raise our animals, what we do to our cows and chickens and our seafood, what we spray on our wheat and corn, and what we do with our fruits and vegetables with the pesticides, that leads to a lot of the inflammation and issues that we have today. So the sensitivity panel is really great because it's able to really pinpoint what things we're eating that can cause that problem. But really, the goal is to get rid of that inflammation, hopefully be able to bring back some of these foods so that it's not a lifelong issue with, with not eating these things, but eating them in a healthier way. Try to use more organic produce, or try to make sure we eat grass-fed beef, or, a free range chicken, or make sure our eggs are clean. So there's a lot of ways we can try to incorporate those foods back. And then often, sometimes we just can't, because we find that specifically a raspberry or blueberry, something odd that you think, why would that cause inflammation? But it does for your particular, self.
Right, right. No, it's so great. And you know, I find that, I've been seeing you for so many years, and I am one of the believers in, integrating the medicine with the holistic way of healing our bodies. But when you start to feel better and you actually pay attention to what goes in your mouth, it's really life changing. It really is. And it sounds so simple and easy to do, and yet so many of us don't do it.
Well, what's interesting is so many people will do it and then they stop doing it, because then they get into life or a holiday or a vacation, or, they feel peer pressure to incorporate alcohol back into their diet or what have you, whatever habits we try to get them to adjust. And I feel like that's so difficult in our society today, because everything is about food and drink. Everything, like everything we really base on, our lives on, and every activity seems to be based on what we eat. And sometimes we feel left out if we're not eating that pizza or drinking that beer or whatever. So it's very difficult, I think, even though people feel better, sometimes they really have a hard time sticking to this particular lifestyle changes unless we have some support, right? So if the family is supportive, the friends are supportive, then I see more long-term success. As I've told a lot of people, they know I'm not going to go to certain restaurants, right? You're not going to see me at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, you're just not, right? So
Right.
you're going to see me at only particular restaurants, because I'm very picky about where I'm going to go, what kind of food I'm going to eat. Now, is it a perfect world? Absolutely not. Of course, on vacation, there's going to be options and times that I don't have control over that, or at a meeting or something like that. But for the most part, I think we have to try to do our best and not live the perfect life, but as long as we can make those, those changes for the majority of time, I think we're still going to see the benefits of feeling better. And that's our whole goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just going to say it is what we do the majority of the time. And if something derails us, get back on as soon as possible.
That's what I try to tell my patients. Sometimes I realize that, this happened, but you don't feel good now, right? So
Right.
let's get back on track. Let's try to clean it up for a couple of weeks, and then, get back on more of a lifestyle maintenance. So I really teach them about cleaning up their diet first, cleaning up their nutrition, and then working on what can we do to maintain this lifestyle. And so I find that, I try to practice what I preach. So I'm really try to give them as many helpful tips as I can, introduce them to other physicians, obviously, who have great blogs and lifestyle, and recipes and cookbooks. And so again, in 2004, this was very daunting. I have to say, in 2022, we have so many more options and so many different restaurants that are able to really accommodate so many of our, our food sensitivities and issues that we have today.
Yes, no, it has definitely gotten better, a lot better, really, in the way of being able to go to a restaurant knowing there's gluten-free options and there's grass-fed meat, et cetera. It's a lot better than it was years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's shift gears for a second. And because we are talking to a lot of business people today, post COVID, obviously the world stress level has gone up significantly throughout the pandemic. Most everyone is back into business now, and some people are still living, the Zoom life versus going into the office, and traveling is starting up again. But I know that you and I have talked previously that just our society as a whole, our stress level is much higher than what it has been in past years. What are some tips and some suggestions and some ways that you would share with all of us on how to manage stress and how to really take care of our bodies as we navigate the new way of living?
So that is such a great question, Haley. So COVID has really introduced to us how important it is to be healthy, and I feel that is so integrative into what we need to do in our businesses today. If we're not healthy, how can our business be healthy?
Right.
This is what I tell women and men all the time, every day. If you're running around, 15 hours a day, and you're not eating and you're not drinking any water, and you've had a heart attack, that's not going to bode well for our future, right? So if you're not here for your spouse or significant others, that's not going to get us anywhere. So you have to take the time to take care of yourself. This is so important. And so again, as I said, I try to practice what I preach. And this happened even long before COVID. I always made the decision that I needed time to exercise because that was critical for me to be able to handle my stress.
Mhm.
So I've always started my schedule a little bit later during the day. And then I have my, my physician assistant nurse practitioners usually in early and they leave early. So they then have the time to do what they need to do as well. So I try to find some work-life balance for us because we have a lot going on with trying to manage our phone calls and our labs and our reports and taking care of patients every day. And we need that time to be able to take care of ourselves. So we need to find some time to exercise. We need to find some time to meditate, whatever that means to you, whether that means 20 minutes of guided meditation, whether that means doing a yoga, we've got to relax our adrenal glands because our stress levels are ridiculous. And what happens when your stress levels stay that high is that at some point that gland, the adrenal gland that supports stress, will fatigue out. And then we have what's called adrenal fatigue. And you really then have so much exhaustion and burnout, and you can't run your business, right? So it's important to take the time now to be able to take 15, 20 minutes a day to meditate, 30 minutes a day to exercise, whatever it is for you that works, but you've got to put yourself first. You've got to put some boundaries in. You can't be on your phone 24/7. That's just not an option. I tell a lot of patients, put your phone away at 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. or make your decision, but don't pick it up after that. And if you have to for an emergency, I mean, that's okay. But in general, you've got to give yourself some time to read or relax or, watch TV, or whatever you want to do. You need to socialize with your friends. You've got to do things that make you happy, because if all we do is 24/7 in our business, we're not going to survive that. And that's not going to be healthy for anyone. And then of course, I think supplements are huge for me and for my practice. I think it's so important to keep, vitamin D and vitamin C, and there's certain vitamins that we've kept for COVID protection, but also just general health. So, find a good multivitamin, do things that are going to keep your insides healthy. So, it is absolutely critical that we keep ourselves healthy to keep our business healthy.
Oh, I agree 100%. And share with us a little bit, because I know you and I just recently talked about this. You are the guru of supplements, and I have my long list that I take every day. And yet you have a couple of your tests that actually show how much absorption is happening with the supplements. And
Yes.
that's important, right? To know that if we're taking 1,000 supplements a week, we know that our body's actually absorbing and using them. Share with us just a little bit on that.
So what's funny to me is I have a lot of patients who buy their supplements, but then they put them in the cabinet and it doesn't really get in them. So that's not definitely going to get absorbed, right? And then sometimes they'll take them all first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And I say, well, that's not going to help because you're not getting much absorption, especially for a vitamin like vitamin D, which is fat soluble. It requires fat for absorption. So I have to sit down with my patients and really tailor the timing of their vitamins, which is important. And then these tests that we have can actually measure over a period of time if they're actually getting into your white blood cells and actually doing what we want them to do. So there are tests that we can do that measure how much it is right today, this very second. And then there's tests today that will actually tell us what's absorbing over time. And so those tests are more critical to me because I feel like that's going to be more important for me to know that they're doing what they need to do and getting into the cell and keeping us healthy. So the nutrition tests that we do, we have two different ones actually in the office, are so important. So we try to do those as often, sometimes every 6 months, maybe once a year, depending on how many nutritional deficiencies you have. But if we're taking 20 things and they're not getting into your gut, well, then we know we need to clean up the gut, right? So there's some great information we can learn from that as well. So very critical for us to know that everything we're taking is actually working. And obviously important to know that it's not sitting in a cabinet, because that's not going to do us any good.
Right, right. And it seems like lately, the gut health has become one of the trends. You see it on social media and different ads and things.
Right.
Do you find that I mean, I know you've known for years how important it is that your gut be healthy, but do you see that it is a trend also right now? And do you have comments on that?
I do. Actually, more traditional physicians are starting to learn more about the gut health and how it's connected to the brain. A lot of people, obviously, we have so much anxiety and depression today, even worse with COVID. And so what I try to tell people is that 90% of the neurotransmitters that tell your brain what's happening are made in the gut. So if we don't clean up the gut, it's going to be very difficult to get the brain to cooperate with us.
Mhm.
So we now know that all those thousands of meters of, of all the little bacteria that we have in there are really regulating what's going on with us. And so if we don't pay attention to that and don't respect that, we really feel like we don't get as much success in treating autoimmune diseases and treating anxiety or depression or ADD or a lot of those different type of issues that we have. Even I feel like worse today.
Oh, absolutely. I know I have a really good friend of mine, and her daughter was just eating normal kid food, just whatever, would drive through Jack in the Box and McDonald's and whatever, just normal kid food. And
Right.
her daughter at the age of 9 or 10 was really suffering from severe ADD and depression to the point where it was alarming. And she was seeing all these different physicians, and they don't live here in town, they live out of state. And she finally found a physician like yourself in their town, and they went through and did all of these tests and cleaned up her diet so much so, and really, really went to the opposite end of the spectrum and got really regimented and clean. And the symptoms of the ADD and the depression literally gone without any additional medicines. And it was really one of those moments that drove the point home for me of how powerful the gut is, and what we put into our body is so affecting the brain.
Absolutely. So interesting that you commented that she's eating regular kid food. So if we look at the United States of America, we're the only country that has, quote, regular kid food, by the way. Most every other country in this world does not have a kids menu. They don't have macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets and pizza as their only options for children. They feed them regular food, just a smaller portion of it. So how we started to do that, I wish I could figure out that history of how that happened, to be very honest, because it's so sad for our children. And I know we have a lot of picky eaters, but we are the ones creating the picky eaters, you know?
Yes.
So, if you go to France or you go to Japan, I mean, they're eating and their school lunches are so different. And you don't see so much ADD and depression and anxiety over there as we do over here. So, I really fault our marketing and such for creating this kids menu that really should not be a kids menu.
Oh, I totally agree. And I would further that too. It also comes from our society of rush, 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 go, go, go. Let's make everything so fast, right? Which we could do a whole nother show on.
Oh, absolutely. Whole other show on.
Right. But and it goes hand in hand. And then at the end of the day, when we start to look at the data and the results we're getting, it's killing us, right? It really is. The stress level and the rush and the food quality, it's killing us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all of that knowledge. It is amazing, and I'm so grateful for you in my own personal life and medicine and wellness, and also here in our community. Before we go, I know that Woodlands Wellness also offers some fun things on the cosmetic side that I may or may not partake in. So would you share a little bit with us about your services on the cosmetic side, just so everyone knows how full scope you actually are?
Yeah, so the reason I created that other side of my practice, the aesthetic side, is because I really realized that once people started feeling better on the inside, they wanted to do a little something to feel better on the outside. So we offer mostly non-surgical procedures such as Botox and fillers and lasers, hydrofacials. I mean, things that just are going to help exfoliate the skin, hide a wrinkle or two, really just to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. And so that's, again, a super important part to myself. We do a lot of body contouring. COVID has not been nice to us on the weight gain, and those things. So we have some cool sculpting and true sculpting. And now we have threads for lifting. So, we have a lot of things in our armament as well to help you feel better about yourself on the outside as well. And that's, and everybody doesn't always want to participate in that, which of course I understand. And we really want to have those options for the people who would like to take them. But we certainly, it's only there if you'd like to participate in those.
Absolutely. And I will just say too, as a shout out to your team, as a whole at Woodlands Wellness, they are all amazing, and they do such a phenomenal job, of course, with you at the helm. So you guys do a great job.
I appreciate your support so much, Haley. It means a lot to me.
Well, thank you for being here with us today and for sharing these little snippets. I would love to have you back on the show, and we will pick another topic one day, because I know you are a wealth of knowledge. So I'm so grateful for you and for sharing all the wisdom that you have. Will you share with us your website and your social media handles, Dr. Davis, so that everybody can find you in Woodlands Wellness?
Yes, so it's woodlandswellness.com for the website. And then our Facebook page and Instagram is just all the same name, so Woodlands Wellness.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. I will see you in the clinic soon.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it again, Haley. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at Rise, Shine, and Live Aligned. As a reminder, we are on the first and third Tuesdays at 7:30 a.m. And our next show will be Tuesday, June 7th. So have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.